we'll jump right to our welcome, I guess. Welcome to the great Stephen King Read-a-thon. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's been so long, I can't even remember.
Yeah, well, you don't want to mess it up for the millions of people watching live.
Right.
Of course.
We have a new addition. I don't know, is it a special guest or a new addition to the crew? We've got Mo Hawes in the house here today.
Yeah. Nice little cameo.
Oh, is it okay if I say your last name? Should we just call you Mo?
Yeah.
Should we redo that?
Redact it.
Mo Hawes, Wizard of Laws.
Is that what you call yourself?
That was rehearsed.
Wizard of Laws, Esquire.
Yeah. Did either of you see Better Call Saul?
I've seen, I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes and I kind of didn't stick with it.
Well, he's flamboyant and I'd like to be someday too. So I think I should adopt that,
Have a little catchphrase.
Yeah, that's
URL or something. I don't know.
Great publicity and
And it rhymes. Yeah, that's perfect.
It works.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you couldn't tell, Mo is a lawyer. He brings some credibility to this discussion. It's like Jordan and I, we're
not messing around anymore.
Yeah, we're a couple tiers lower on the hierarchy. He actually reads. You were just saying that as for work, you look at papers all day. You read a ton, right?
I read a ton. Yeah.
So is it refreshing for you to get to read some fiction?
Yeah, it was great. I really just rolled right through it because it was so much more interesting than what I usually read.
Yeah.
Nice. You read this in like 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
I gave you a 2-week period and then you're like, all right, done.
He texted like a day or two later. Yeah.
Well, 2 things there. 1, I didn't want to be the one that anybody was waiting on. And 2, I just really enjoyed it. I mean, so, and was stoked to be a part of this. So thanks for letting me crash the party.
Yeah.
I took a couple criminal justice classes and one of them focused on like analyzing court proceedings or whatever, like reading over court cases. And it was just like terrible. I was like, I don't know how lawyers and judges do this, dude. Like so many pages of just dense, like boring writing. Like I love to read, but I hate reading that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
I honestly do enjoy it. It's just much less flavor than something like this. So, yeah.
And I think, what you sort of touched on something, and I was realizing this as well. I was going to mention it tonight that I was reading another book at the same time as reading this, and I just kept finding myself wanting to keep returning to this one because Stephen King, like, I feel like no matter what he's writing, it's just like it's well written, even if the story itself is like not that interesting. Because in this story, it's not like a ton happens. It all takes place over like one day, and it's not like The Shining, where there's like all kinds of crazy stuff, or like Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
But even so, like it was just captivating because it flows, it's smooth, it's like it's easy to read. It just you start reading and all of a sudden you're 8 chapters later, you're like, holy cow, I can't believe it, it just flows.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff.
I felt like it was much more of like a dramatic setting than what we've been reading, like the horror action.
Yeah, definitely. It was very different. Like there was nothing supernatural about it, right?
Yeah,
very different. I guess we should actually introduce the book. We should say, this one is like, it's actually really interesting if you Google it. Have you guys like looked into, because he published it under a different name, the name Richard Bachman. Have you looked into that at all about like why he did that or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. It was because I guess like back in the day, publishers wouldn't let authors write more than one book. So he did it to be able to write more than one book in a year.
Yeah, because he writes so fast, they were afraid he was going to like oversaturate the market or whatever. So he decided to write under a different name. And I think there were kind of a few different reasons. In the front, I got this book, the Bachman books. It's like an omnibus of a few of his Bachman books. And in the front, he has like an essay where he just explains like there were kind of a few different reasons that all just kind of came together. But one was that. And then another part was he kind of wanted to see, is my success because I'm actually good, or was it sort of a fluke? And he wanted to see if he could, under a different name, secretly like reach the same level of success to prove to himself that he was actually like really that good. And so there was a few different reasons for it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Interesting though. Like,
and Rage in particular has a really interesting history because, and we were talking about this before we started recording, it's about a school shooting, which is really timely for us to talk about it today. And it's, I guess over time he felt bad. Like when I first heard about it, I heard that, you know, he didn't like it because he thought maybe it glorified violence or something like that. So he requested that it be taken out of print. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, come on, like people, you can't blame a book for like school shootings or things like that. But then when you read it, I don't know how you guys felt, but when I started reading it, I was like, oh, now I see why. Now I see why he wanted to take it out of print. Like the protagonist is the shooter, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to like put any thoughts in your guys' heads before you share what you were thinking, but like,
no, I
to me it was
agree.
very like glorified, like he was the good guy. It was like, this is pretty messed up.
Yeah, well, I didn't feel like he was the good guy, maybe, but it did, like, it almost encouraged somebody, like, if they're angry at other people, that this might be a way to teach somebody a lesson.
Yeah, it was like justified, kind of.
Yeah.
What did you think, Mo, as a lawyer?
Not as a lawyer at all. I'm not here with any pretense there, but I agree with what you've said. I think that part of the really surprising and distressing thing about this book was that you do end up empathizing somewhat with this individual, and I can see why it was pulled from print, because it could encourage others to try and resolve some issues that they have in that manner. Because what happens is it develops this idea that everyone else is really just as effed up as the shooter is, and they're all just waiting for someone to release the fetters and let them be crazy too, you know?
Yeah.
And that really kind of struck a chord, because I think that goes through all of our minds, you know, just in day-to-day life, when we're doing something menial like following the speed limit, and you look around and you're like, nobody wants to be doing this, we're all just agreeing to. But then in the school shooter context, that really is shocking to the conscience, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of scary when you start to go down that rabbit hole, and you think, like you're saying, everybody has that in them. I think everybody has a bad day where they're stressed and they kind of just want to blow up. Or like that movie, is it called Falling Down, where the guy's in traffic? You just made me think of it when you were talking about driving. He's like stuck in traffic, and he just kind of goes crazy, and he like goes on a rampage across the city, and he like kills some people or something just because he's so stressed out. Is it Russell Crowe? Is that what you said?
Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
I don't think so.
Unhinged or something?
No. This is like an older, I think it's from the 90s or something.
Oh.
But it's sort of that concept of like, he's just kind of just so overwhelmed and so stressed out that he just kind of breaks. But I think, you know, everybody has that in them. And this book, like Mo was saying, it almost encourages or like explains like, oh yeah, this could be a way of dealing with that kind of thing. Yeah. And actually, when I started doing a little bit more research and reading into it and stuff, there apparently have been multiple mass shooters who like specifically cited this book as part of their inspiration, or like said that they really related to the protagonist, and they had a copy of the book in their bedroom and it was all marked up in the margins and stuff like that. It was like really, really direct links to the book. And so that's why Stephen King was like, yeah, you know what? We should not have this in print anymore. So if you want to get a copy of the book, it's actually kind of hard to get an actual copy. They're pretty expensive. But I think
I was reading it was like $4,000 for a copy.
Yeah, I bet. We got I don't know if this is, I guess it's not illegal. Maybe it is. I don't know, because it's out of print. But we got like somebody emailed me like a pirated copy. I don't know if I should say that. And I passed it on to you guys. I don't know. I don't think Stephen King would care. Maybe I'll cut that out of the video.
Because I have it, like I put it in the books on my iPhone. It's all like formatted and everything correctly.
I don't know. I just call it pirated because I didn't pay for it. A guy just emailed to me like the thing. I did notice though, it was kind of funny. I feel like somebody got the book and then they transcribed it themselves, because there was like a bunch of funny typos where like it'd be a 1 instead of the letter L and stuff like that. but I don't know. Anyway, that's beside the point. Overall, I thought, yeah, it's a good book. I do kind of see now that I've read it how it could be problematic, maybe even dangerous. So, I mean, I guess I don't disagree with the decision. Fundamentally, normally, I'm like very against any sort of like banning of books or suppression of books. But yeah, you kind of get it after you read the book itself.
Yeah. Well, I was looking in the background, like you were saying, is related to school shootings. I found like 5 that was directly related to.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It surprises me. And also, I think that goes against Stephen King's ardent belief that the only, I mean, suppression of any books is a god-awful thing. I mean, he has said publicly in relation to recent, I think mostly conservative areas of the United States, certain towns or school districts, school boards pulling books, that he's saying his advice is go out immediately and find them, like understand what it is they're trying to hide from you. I would have thought in reading it that actually it would have a different effect on anybody who is contemplating doing something like that, because it doesn't end with any glorification of the act of shooting somebody in the school. That really was not the point. That wasn't the focus.
Right.
It wasn't a gore type thing at all. I think that what I took from it when you get to the end is like, yeah, everybody was struggling. Everybody in that classroom was struggling in their own way. Only one person ends up in a really bad way. And I don't know what your rules are in this chat about ruining endings and stuff, but
I don't know. I was wondering about that because it is out of print and so many people probably won't even get a chance to read it. Should we just kind of spoil the ending or should we avoid that?
No, spoil it. People
Jordan's down to spoil it.
People already know.
Actually, so far
that we spoil the books.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so far in this series of videos, we've been doing this. Actually, we should have talked about this, but we're sort of shifting our focus. Instead of doing like breakdowns of every chapter, we're just going to go to like normal book review discussion type things. Because like The Shining, we did 6 videos or 5 videos for it. And like Salem's Lot, we did like 13 videos or something, but it was just too much. So we're going to cut to just 1 video per book, pretty much. But yeah, we can talk about the ending. I don't mind. I don't care.
I thought you were going to say that you've changed the focus to just spoiling. Like, that's
we're only going to talk about the last 3 chapters.
Honestly, that might be good for the YouTube algorithms. I know we've got millions of viewers, right? But we could have millions upon millions if you just had a 1-minute video where it's spoiled.
This is just the spoilers. Not even going to tell you the premise. This is just how it ends.
Well, Jordan is really stoked to spoil this. So
yeah, I thought it was very disturbing. Not in that there was anything like graphic going on, but just the intensity of how much that probably damaged his mental state. Like in the very end, obviously he's in this comatose state or something, like he's not responding to anything. So
you're talking about that kid Ted?
Yeah.
Was that his name? Ted Jones?
Ted Jones.
So he's like the popular, he was like a jock, right? He was a football player.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He's supposed to be like this good kid that like, is good at everything.
He's like the homecoming king type guy.
Right.
And he's the only one that actively keeps resisting the shooter character, right? He's trying to help the police and the administrators like shut this down. And the other kids in the room are strangely, well, it feels strange. I don't know.
It was just a slow transition over to.
Yeah. They're kind of going along with this kid, Charlie, with the shooter. They're like, they kind of get, because like Mo said, they're all kind of messed up too. So yeah, at the end of the book, sorry, I keep interrupting. At the end of the book, Ted is in a comatose state. Well, not comatose, but like.
Just like a vegetative state, I guess. He's
like not responding to anybody.
Right.
So that was actually, I gotta say, I didn't really like the ending all that much. I just felt like it kind of came out of left field. Like, yes, I get that like the kids in the classroom are not really scared of the gunman. They sort of even relate to him and they're kind of like, whatever, this is like crazy adventure. They're kind of going along with it. But then for them to all get up and like attack the homecoming king type guy, I'm just gonna call him that. I don't know. For them to just like attack Ted and like traumatize him so bad that he ends up being like the only real victim. I just thought that was kind of weird. But I really like your guys' interpretations about it, though. I feel like I'm understanding it more.
Well, I think if I could interject and just comment for background, the shooter comes in and takes out a teacher who's in front of this class lecturing, and then sits down and kills another teacher who tries to come in. But that's the end of the death. In that classroom is the extent of the entire book. It all happens in the space of that time. And what happens for every student in there, except for the homecoming king, is this transformation, this breaking down of any pretense of popularity or, put on of image. And so everybody has this progression along with the shooter, who is quite literally facing, like, he doesn't have a clue what when he gets out of that room. But breaking down in front of them too, telling them these intimate stories. High school prom king doesn't do it. And so the attack was really strange, but it was also sort of satisfying. It was sort of like they beat it out of him because he wouldn't let himself let go. I don't know. Yeah,
I can totally see that. You need to be a regular on this channel, Mo. I love the way you talk. He's just analyze, like, me and Jordan are just like, oh, it was a good story. It was crazy.
It was good. He's very
writing
particular
good
to the point, which is very needed. No, but I agree. Like, it was, I guess maybe it's just because they're high school students and like you're all feeling like tons of emotion and hormones in high school. So it's probably just like they realize that this kid, Charlie, he's telling them all these stories about his life and how it's hard. And I think everybody, no matter where you're at, like, you have certain hard things that you're going through. And so they're probably slowly starting to relate and say, like, yeah, like, okay, he is, like, they're not saying that he's not crazy. He is kind of crazy. He has a gun, but they're saying, well, maybe some of this stuff is valid. Like, maybe he's kind of got a point, and this other kid, Ted Jones, is just ignoring all those feelings. So it's completely false. I don't know.
Yeah, like, he's trying to be better than he is, or like he's trying to overcome and be something that he's not, kind of a thing. So yeah,
especially when all
fake.
These secrets are coming out about him, like quitting the football team and being drunk and
so throughout the book, so it all takes place in the classroom, right? But then as they're in the classroom, about half and half of it is like in the classroom, and half of it is like the kids in the classroom telling stories from their lives. So a lot of it's like flashbacks and stuff about these traumatic events and stuff, especially Charlie, the main character guy. And Ted, some of the stories come out about like how his life is not so perfect, how he was actually there's a girl in there talks about how he like pressured her to have sex and stuff like that, and oh, that's so taboo, and he would never do that, and oh, and his mom's a drunk, and that's like so shameful, and like things like that. And so, but he wouldn't accept it, he wouldn't admit it, he wouldn't like join the rest of the kids.
Yeah, and I think that's where the attack came from. It was that like he was just like everybody else, but he wouldn't accept that he was like everybody else. Maybe.
And one thing I know about kids is they do not like someone who thinks that they're better. They don't like someone else acting like that person is better than them. Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
I loved, and this caught me off guard. I wonder what you guys thought, but the flashbacks you just mentioned, Luke, that Charlie, the main character, is experiencing, they're not presented as a flashback in a traditional sense. They're presented in a chapter where he's actually narrating what went on to the class.
Yeah, he's telling them the story. Yeah.
That was really striking to me for a couple of reasons. One, as you're reading the book, you find yourself thinking, okay, even just in reading this text, it's tracking the timing of how things would have gone in the space of 4 hours of a standoff with police in the school, partly because what you're reading is what is being said and done in real time, so to speak. But also it's a much different way of presenting his internal thoughts about or rather, Stephen King could have presented them as his internal thoughts that he's having during this standoff, and justifying him in his own right why he's doing what he's doing. But actually what he's doing is he's humbling himself to these people and basically like, I don't really understand why I'm so effed up, but this is what has contributed to it, you know, and he's breaking down to encourage the other students to break down. I thought it was really a great rhetorical approach.
Yeah.
And about that specifically, I like the way he did that because Charlie himself didn't like see that coming. At the beginning, he just comes into the school and he lights his locker on fire and he takes the lock off and he's like, he's gonna leave it, but then he's like, nah, and he puts it in his pocket, which I love what happens with the lock later on. That was so cool. But anyway, and then he goes and he shoots the teacher and he takes over this classroom. And then they're like, well, now what? And he's like, now we get it on. And they're like, what does that mean? And he's like, just means we get it on. And like, he doesn't even have any idea what he's going to do. And so he just starts telling them stories and they just start talking. And it's like, I just love that aspect of it. Like he didn't have a plan. That's how messed up he was. He was just like, I'm going to go bring a gun to school and see what happens kind of thing. I don't know. I thought that was crazy. It was really, because how many times do we make plans and they don't go according to plan, right? How many times do we like want something to happen and it doesn't work out? And he was just like embracing the chaos, basically. He was like the Joker in The Dark Knight. He was just like, let's go, let's get it on.
I'm curious and this is kind of morbid, like that it's been attached to so many school shootings, but I wonder if there's any of those shooters that went with sort of this plan to like just bring a gun to school. They just kind of talk out their feelings and say what they're wanting to say, but obviously it doesn't happen that way because they get shot or they get like there's utter chaos and the students aren't just sitting there listening to them, like shoots one person and then everybody goes ballistic, you know. I wonder if like if some of the shooters are wanting to go in and just have like a talk with classroom and say like, look, I don't want to shoot all of you guys, I just want to explain my feelings to you, but it obviously is never going to go like that because this is fiction.
There was one that I read about that the gunman tried to go into the school and basically followed the book almost like a script, and that he tried to recreate it exactly, but one of his classmates like tackled him and took the gun away and was able to like defuse the situation. Really? Which is really interesting because that's what Ted in the story tries to do a couple of times. But Charlie's too quick and he points, you know, he keeps him at bay with the gun. But this kid tried to recreate that and he was thwarted in his attempt. Yeah. See, I can use big words too, Mo. Thwarted.
I had the exact same thought when that, like, I wondered if anybody had tried to follow that timeline, you know, that approach. Besides Luke telling me when he told me what book we were reading that it had been used as a guide for some shooters, I had no idea. I didn't do any independent research before I read it. But yeah, that's a fascinating thing to consider, because I think that the one plan that he did have, that any shooter must have, is how are you going to stave off any outside forces? You may be able to barrage a room or barricade a room, but even Charlie had that plan. That he had to maintain some sense of authority with the authorities the whole time, and that dialogue's really rich. By the way, I enjoyed reading him.
The way he talks to the administrator,
yeah,
to the principal or whoever it was, or the school psychologist, the counselor.
Yeah.
Which is actually, as a teacher, I thought it was really funny reading that, because like a lot of students talk like that to me all the time. Like that's pretty normal. And it's like in the 70s or early 80s that he wrote this? I think it was the 70s, right?
70s, yeah.
Like that was pretty wild. Like, I don't know. When I was a kid, I would never dream of swearing at a teacher. I don't know if there were kids at school who did that. I never noticed. I don't know.
I swore all the time at all my teachers.
Yeah, right. It doesn't help that the three of us are, you know, we were pretty mild, pretty vanilla kids, I think, mostly. But like kids today, like they say the F word to me constantly. Like not really? At me, not like insulting me, but like just in conversation. and they'll ask me about my sex life, and I'm like, dude, no. Like, what do you, like, we're not having this conversation. They'll ask me about like all kinds of crazy stuff, like, have you ever done drugs, mister? Like, how much do you drink? And like, and I'm like, dude, I don't do any of that stuff, first of all. Like, and we're not gonna talk about this. What are you doing? Like, this is a math class. I don't know. It's just funny that like he's talking to this school official and asking him these like very personal questions, and the official is getting all flustered and like can't handle it. It's like, that's so normal today, which is, I don't know. I don't like it very much, to be honest, but that's a different thing, I guess.
I wanted to bring that up because I just wanted to know like how you felt about that as a teacher. But yeah, that's crazy. Do they so like you're getting trained to be a teacher at school? Do they ever train you for these, like for a school shooter situation at all?
You know, it was interesting when I was getting my certification, it was never brought up. And then when you actually get hired at a school, of course, they're going to train you on whatever specifics they need from you. This is my 3rd year teaching. And the first 2 years, they never said anything. They'll tell us that our number one priority, the biggest part of our job, is actually student safety before education, right? So like, we're supposed to know where they all are. That's why we have to like only let one kid go to the bathroom at a time, and just that kind of like classroom management, like make sure you know where everybody is and everybody's safe kind of thing. If you see someone pass out, you got to call the nurse or whatever, which has happened to me. But this year, my 3rd year teaching, I was kind of surprised. This last fall, we come to our training at the beginning of the year. We do PD, professional development, and they gave us a little bit of a training about like school shooter situations, and they told us, we can't tell you what to, like, we can't tell you to fight back, but like we kind of would encourage you to be ready to fight back. Like if somebody comes into your classroom, which I thought was really interesting. They were telling us like, you know, and tell this same thing to your students. Like, don't tell your students they have to fight back, but anybody who's willing, you know, get some scissors ready or something. It's not like, and that's the thing. It's like, sorry, I'm like rambling, but you're basically just sitting ducks in a school, you know, like it's a gun-free zone. So you lock the door and you get into the corner or whatever, and that's all you can really do. But yeah, they were, for the first time in my career, sorry, finally get around to the answer. First time in my career, they actually showed us like schematics of school shootings that had happened. And they showed us how like all of the people who died were in classrooms where the door wasn't locked. So they were talking about, you got to make sure your door's locked. And they showed us just stuff like that. And they actually gave us a little bit more of a training, which they had never done before, which is sort of like a sobering moment, you know, as a teacher. It's like, you might be in this situation. Yeah. And those amazing teachers at Uvalde, like they jumped in front and they gave their lives to protect their students. That was just heartbreaking and incredible. Honestly, when I heard about it and I heard that it was little kids, I have 5 little kids and 3 of them go to school at an elementary school here. And it's like, I just can't even imagine. It was, as a teacher and a parent, I haven't even watched hardly anything about it because I don't think I could even handle like hearing details. So I don't even know very much about it, but it's terrible, obviously, and terrifying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But is there anything else specifically you guys wanted to? Oh, the padlock. I guess since we're spoiling stuff, I wanted to talk about that because that was so cool, just storytelling wise. So he puts the lock in his shirt and like you forget about it for like, I don't know, 100 pages or 70 pages, something around there.
Right.
And then he's talking or whatever. And then there's like police all outside. And then there's like a sniper setup that he didn't see and it shoots him. And like, that's when I got shot in the chest. And then the chapter ends. You're like, what happened? And then like the next chapter, and he shot the padlock, which you had totally forgotten about. And I was like, oh, that was awesome. And he's all bruised and like injured, but he's alive. It was crazy. I love that moment.
That was a great moment.
No, I like that. It was just a small, like you said, it was just a small detail at the front that you forgot about, and then it became a big part of the story. So.
And reading it on like as an ebook, I didn't have a clue how many chapters there were. I was just reading through. I thought that was the end at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if I was holding a real book, I'd be like, okay, something else happens.
Yeah.
But read it on an ebook and you're like, oh shit, it's done.
He's dead. All right.
He's dead. The end.
But actually, one other thing, unless Jordan, if you want to comment on the padlock.
No, that's all I have to say.
So the other component of the ending is actually really interesting and kind of maybe a little unsatisfying, which is that the shooter ends up indefinitely in psychiatric care, right? I disliked it to a degree because I kind of wanted more story. I wanted more of a resolution. But then as I thought about it in the days after reading, I actually liked that as a discouragement for this sort of an act. I'm going back to why I'm confused that somebody would use this as a manifesto or part of for a school shooting, because we've talked about other shooters who have maybe used this as a guide or an inspiration. Where the book literally ends is that this shooter is indefinitely in psychiatric care. He's now in a prison that, I mean, I think he would have preferred, he doesn't say this anywhere, but I think he would have preferred to have actually been shot and for it to be over than to be confined forever in that context, because he certainly didn't think that he was crazy. He thought he was more alive and more cognizant than anybody else around him. And that's why he did what he did.
And he kind of tried to get the cops to kill him. Remember, right when the police officer comes into the classroom and he's like, he yelled something. I can't remember what he said. He's like, "Hey, take that, cop!" And he throws his hands up, and the cop shoots him, but doesn't kill him.
Right.
Tries to commit suicide by cop is what they call it. I've heard people call it that.
Yeah.
But sorry, and you were saying.
I agree with that, but I don't know if it would be a discouragement for somebody at like this low of a point in their life, just because I feel like their main point would just be to get the kids to listen, just to get their point across. And so like if like that's it. Like if they die, then they die. If they go to an insane asylum, then, and it seemed like after that letter was written, like everybody still kind of saw him as the hero. So in the end, he still won.
Yeah.
Like his friend that he's writing the letter to at the end.
Yeah. And he's saying like all the other people haven't forgot him or what he did in that classroom.
Yeah, because in a way it's treated in a way that like he almost sort of liberated them and showed them like a higher way of living, free of all these, the shackles of normality or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, not to get too meta on this, but like,
let's
get it on. Also, why are you drinking? Never mind. You're rude. It's just good.
I told you before we started recording, this is my celebratory root beer because this is the last day of school. I'm officially starting summer vacation, and I've only had like 2 sodas this year so far. I've been trying to quit soda, but I had a root beer in the cupboard and I'm enjoying it.
I thought it was strategic that you've had the label turned away from the camera, so it looked like you've just been drinking a beer the whole time.
Oh, it's actually not a root beer. It's like cream. It's like cream soda and root beer mixed. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
you were saying something else before, Mo. What were you saying?
I got distracted by your root beer label.
Sorry.
Okay,
I told my wife when I got home, I was like, I'm gonna drink this today, and then I was like, wait, I have the Zoom call with the boys. I'm like, I'm gonna sit around with the boys and drink my soda. I'm gonna be like, yeah.
Well, nobody told me this was a drinking party.
Well,
I'm the only one enjoying
next time.
True beverage, but what I said was not to get too meta, but it is interesting how he definitely is glorified for being the one who released the fetter on the minds of all these kids who have just been too afraid to be real and to accept other people as real. But as you were just saying about a higher purpose or a higher goal, I wonder in today's world with active shooter situations, school shootings, what is the higher purpose that's being achieved in society? What recognition is society achieving in conjunction with these acts? Because we know that for a lot of these people, the actual shooter, the legacy they want is to be known for, to have the press or the media for committing something tragic and like really shaking things up. I don't feel like as a society we're really learning the lessons at all from it. You know?
I fully agree. Like
I'd
it should
have
be
to agree with
downplayed
that.
as much as possible, just because you're right. Like that's what they're looking for. Like most of these shooters are people that have been bullied and like are super quiet, don't talk a lot, like aren't recognized in their school. So like when they get this opportunity and they go shoot up a school and then they receive this nationwide news, like that's what they want. And so when when other shooters see news stories like this, then it's almost, I agree, it's almost like an encouragement to do it.
That's why it's so upsetting when they publicize the person's name and a picture of them and stuff. It's like you're giving them the publicity they wanted, man. Like don't do that. But it's also, it makes me think, I don't know, is there any other way? Because we as humans, we love the drama and the tragedy. Like, I mean, that's why we read Stephen King, because it's horrible, it's scary, and it's frightening, and it's like traumatic. And when you hear a news story like that, a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is they want to Google it and find out more. And it becomes, you know, with the Google algorithms, it's like it's getting searched millions of times, and that's what people want to hear. So the news, what's the word? The media, I guess we'll say, you know, they focus more on it, and it's like a cycle. So I don't know. I mean, is there, like, I totally agree with what you guys are saying, that it's terrible and they're looking for that publicity, but is there any way to prevent them getting that publicity, do you think?
I guess I wouldn't say that I'm in favor of not publicizing their names or that sort of thing. I think that it's not necessarily feeding their goal. I realize that might be part of it, but I think that it's the twist that we put on it as society. And unfortunately, where we really empower these shooters is that society, rather than bolstering our joint efforts to be united, we become more fractured and afraid of each other and afraid of anybody. And that's the same thing that happens in a microcosm in that classroom. The difference being that his goal wasn't to just massacre people. And what happened was there was a community of students who came closer together by, I guess, I don't know. Sorry, notifications.
They draw closer together by recognizing their similarities, right? That they're all kind of messed up.
Yeah, and I think it breaks down the fear of it. You know, they didn't have to be afraid of him, and he even recognized the whole time that he wasn't going to outnumber them with one 6-gun. You know, like if Ted had come after him with 2 other people in tow, like he was done. He knew that. The real strength of the whole situation was that people were able to not be afraid of one another, and that was their strength. And they took their strength and used it against Ted, oddly.
Yeah. So are you saying that like when these things get publicized, then as a whole, like we become less trusting of other people? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, yeah, I think that the way that we present the information, the way that the media presents it, it doesn't actually empower us to come closer as a community to really find solutions to this.
Yeah.
And a lot of fringe conversations about what's the nucleus of this, you know, mental health in America and that sort of thing. But somehow these shootings don't spur a collective effort to address that. They spur this collective fearfulness. Like everybody in America who has children is afraid right now that America doesn't have a clue how to handle these things, and we can't unite in a joint effort to handle them, you know?
And what I see a lot of is people just blaming other people, right? That you remember when we were young and 9/11 happened, and I don't know. I wasn't old enough to really understand it, but I kind of noticed, like the nation came together and it was like we were all mourning and there was a bigger sense of patriotism for a while. And it had a sort of I keep forgetting the words tonight. Sorry, guys. But it had that effect where it drew people together in their mourning. But I think what you're saying is totally true, that now when a traumatic event like that happens, some people get drawn closer together, of course, but on a larger scale, the nation is really divided because they want to blame each other for, oh, we should pass stricter gun laws. You didn't want to pass these gun laws, so it's your fault. Or you didn't want to do this, so it's your fault. And they end up just playing the blame game, and it just divides us further.
Yeah, I think that the thing that you had with 9/11 is that the enemy was an external enemy, and
right.
We can say that of an American who grows up here and decides to shoot people, other civilians. But you're totally spot on with this division, and it tends to be a party division with what the solution should be, and that's what America can't handle, is the internal threat.
Yeah,
it's too bad, really.
And it just, I don't know, it complicates the issue, because like you're saying, if it's an external enemy, that's pretty cut and dry. But if it's on the inside, what are you going to do to really root those people out, to prevent it, to help them, or to hinder them, or whatever needs to be done? Like, how are you going to do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
How are you even going to identify those people before it happens, before it's too late? I don't know. It's basically impossible. I don't know. It's impossible to my mind. I don't know if anybody else can figure it out.
Jordan can figure it out.
Yeah, I got it.
He's just been keeping the secret.
He's got it.
No, I think that's just like everybody's always trying to solve that or figure out that solution, but it's like we're all humans. There's not going to be a solution. I feel like like everybody's going to have their own ideas of what's best for different people, and everybody's an individual. That's certain things are going to work and certain things aren't going to work. And I think a lot of the times we try to come at the problem as like a huge like a one answer fits all, but that's never going to work.
Yeah, and part of that is, America is just such a big place, and there's different cultures in different regions and stuff, and it's like you said, it's not one size fits all.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we got off on a tangent of the book and more on like politics.
Yeah, we did. We did. Does that mean you want to end it, or do you want to go back to the book?
No.
Is there much more? Is there much more to discuss?
Look at my notes. I don't think that I have anything else. But
you took notes?
Yeah, it takes me so long to read books, Mo. I can't read books in 2 days.
I'm proud of you.
So
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, I just took notes on chapters to.
I have a bad habit of like getting into the book, and then I just read, and then I'm like, crap, like I should write down a few things that I want to talk about, and I just forget. So, but I don't think there was anything else I wanted to really talk about. Overall, it was a pretty good read. I don't think it was really as good as the other things that we've read from Stephen King so far. It was
really,
I don't know.
I thought it was very comparable to the other
really
ones, if not one of my favorites. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I guess maybe because it lacked the supernatural element, or because it was just a shorter, tighter narrative. It took place over just the course of one day. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just kind of felt like it was missing something. Like The Shining shows Jack Torrance slowly devolve into insanity, right? And this one, it's like Charlie's already pretty crazy, and he kind of like makes all these kids go crazy like really quickly. And it just felt like a little too rushed in a way. But it wasn't bad. I mean, I just thought I liked the other ones better. The other stories that we've read so far.
All right. I can appreciate that.
I can appreciate it too. I haven't read any other ones with you. So this was my favorite one that we've read together.
Yeah.
See?
So ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments, should Mo be a regular member on I think you should, if you can. I don't know if you have the time for it. Because we didn't mention on the recording, but we are all childhood friends. We've known each other since the days when we were knee high to a grasshopper.
Well,
the country folks say.
I didn't come in until high school.
Yeah, so I think I met Mo in 3rd grade. And then Jordan, you moved to town freshman year, right?
Yeah.
And we've been pretty tight since then, right? Through high school and afterwards. We shared an apartment together right after high school.
Oh my gosh. That was a trip.
We drove each other crazy. I remember Mo
drove off a cliff. Yeah,
literally. Yeah, that was crazy. I remember I think people watching this are gonna appreciate this maybe because you're so articulate, Mo. You're very like, I don't know, you just exude the lawyerly scholarliness, and I don't know.
Well,
so,
I can tone that down. I apologize. I'm not.
No. I feel like you've always
don't.
been
It was
that
fantastic.
Oh,
You're elevating. Yeah. You're elevating this whole.
Yeah, I agree.
Thing.
Not to make you feel uncomfortable or anything, but like you do. You just have a good way of speaking.
Oh, thank you.
No, but I was gonna say, I remember at the end of that summer, you probably remember. You told me, you're like, dude, I love you, but like, I never want to live with you again. Because you were a lot more like, not rigid. Rigid is not the right word, but you were just like disciplined, right? Like you would get up on time and get things done, and like you were so mature. And like me and Jordan, we're like playing the guitar till 1 a.m. and like just like watching movies and being loud and being dumb and stuff. And I don't know. I almost, in a way, I almost took it as a compliment of the like, you're like, oh yeah, we can appreciate each other and love each other, but we don't want to live with each other again. We kind of drove each other crazy.
Was this before or after you killed my chinchilla?
That's the reason. You didn't get the hint. He didn't want to live with you because you murdered his pet.
Yeah, Dabul.
I think it was before. I'm so sad about that. You gave him to me as a pet, and I wanted.
Well, it's because he died in the car.
He died on the car ride home because I didn't have AC.
No, it's because you were eating dried mango strips.
Oh, that's
he wasn't allowed to eat mango, and you had him running around free.
Was my car?
You had a seizure.
I have my reasons. Okay, I'm not at fault. No, the car. I had my tiny little car, and I didn't have space to have his whole cage like set up in the car. So I had to collapse the cage and let him just run around the car while I was driving. And I dropped like a piece of mango, and he was nibbling at it, and I was like, whatever, that's fine. And then I found out later they're not supposed to eat anything bigger than like a raisin or something, right?
No. So then didn't you have like a proper burial for him and stuff? Right?
Shut up, Jordan. Does Mo know what I did? Do you know?
I know exactly what you did.
Well, I didn't know what to do. I was on the road.
So
I threw him in the river.
So you know the ranch that we have, I crossed the bridge where you threw Dabul over into the river. I cross that bridge every time I go to the ranch. And I think about Dabul. So
because didn't we meet up in like camp with Austin on the trip back or whatever? Like, because he had left earlier, and then he like came up and we met up and we camped on the side of the river with him on our way home from Spokane, right?
Could be.
And I think that's when I threw him in the river, because I was like, well, I don't want a dead rodent in my car the rest of the trip. Like, I guess I'll just give him a Viking burial right here, right now. I was sad though, to be honest. Like, I really was looking forward to having him as a pet. He was cool. Those things were really cool.
Yeah, Monzi lived a good life.
Yeah, until his head got stepped on.
What? What? What happened to Monzi, Jordan?
Well,
I didn't know this. I thought he died of old age. He lived for a lot longer than Dabul.
No, he was like, my mom would let him run around the house, and he was totally fine. But I think one day Eden was running down the stairs and she didn't see him, and stepped on his head.
I feel worse for Eden.
Yeah, he
felt just traumatized. Bad.
But like, he didn't die. He was just like kind of
special.
He would just drool a lot. And then
would he really?
died. Yeah. he died probably a year later, so I don't know if it.
A year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm surprised he made it even that far. Do you remember how their excrement was these little BB,
little dry pellets.
And we used to borrow the vacuum from Borg.
Oh, that's right.
And he'd clean up and one time I was cleaning out the cage when Monzi ran by and he got sucked onto the end of and I screamed and I tried to yank it away from him, but it wasn't that heavy. So we didn't separate from the vacuum hose until he was mid-flight and he just smashed into a wall.
My gosh.
We need to cut out anything that
might because PETA can't add us.
It's animal abuse. I just thought it was, well, first of all, I wanted to make a comment about Monzi became Ted Jones. I'm bringing it back to the book. Stepped on his, I can't believe he's lived for a year like that. No, but I just thought it was so funny that you guys, didn't you like look on Craigslist and you found some lady that was like selling chinchillas and you just got them like just because?
Yeah. That was Jordan. I want to know what your thoughts were on that, but my recollection is like,
well, you're the one that found him and you're like, hey, we should get some chinchillas. I was like, well, that sounds like a great idea.
So we're up there, we're broke, we're there selling pest control door to door, and we drop like $300 on 2 chinchillas because why not?
I remember we all kind of had this attitude. Well, I think Mo a little bit less because you had gone up there the summer before, but like Jordan and I, that was our first time away from home. And I remember feeling like this immense liberation. Like it's 1 a.m. If I want to go to Walmart and get ice cream, I can. Like, it's like I'm on my own. I can do whatever I want. And so like, I think that was a little bit of part of it. Like, hey, we're grown men now. We live on our own. We can buy chinchillas if we want to. I don't know.
Trying to figure it out. Yeah.
That was my view of it. But I didn't get a chinchilla for myself though.
You were smart. I regret getting one, honestly.
Yeah. And Borg was super angry when like the whole house was chewed up. Like all the doorways and stuff.
Yeah, because they would chew on the furniture.
Tables and the rented furniture. All the legs were chewed off.
Yeah. We really lived it up. I hope you guys have fond memories of that because I certainly do. Like,
oh yeah, I have nothing but great memories, honestly. Like I would recommend it to almost anyone out there. Like summer after high school, just go live away from your parents for a couple months with friends, work and have fun, and then move back because you're probably going to lose all your money. Like it's probably not going to go that well. So come back. But yeah, it was a blast. I loved it.
Yeah, definitely good growing experience.
Yeah.
And Jordan almost died.
Yeah, but I'm still here.
It was crazy.
That was really a crazy, like that's so vivid, all of that in my mind. And Jordan, I don't know if we ever told you, but you remember the movie that we watched that summer that we were obsessed with?
Oh yeah, Wedding Days?
Yeah.
Wedding Days.
So have I ever told you about when you were in the hospital, how that movie...
Nope. I'm not sure what.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly where this is going.
All right, do tell. Story time.
Should we tell him?
Of course.
This sounds now. Okay, so this sounds really insensitive, and I apologize.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan was in a horrific car accident. It's been 12 years? Is that how?
Or 14 years, something like that.
We're old now. What? 14? We're not.
No, never mind.
We're not 34, 30. How old would we be?
Never mind. Yeah. Anyways, okay.
12 or 13 years. You drove
32. Off. Yeah, 13 years. Yeah. I am 31.
And like your car flipped a bunch of times. Thank God you were in a Buick and like
made of metal. Yeah.
And also,
do you remember the Buick? Do you remember the car? It was like folded. Nonsense. It was insane.
Yeah, and you ultimately had some lacerations, right?
Yeah, concussion. The scars.
Concussion too. Oh yeah.
I remember your head was like kind of swollen, like your head and your chest were all banged up. But other than that, you were pretty much fine, right?
Yeah.
That was nuts. So we get the call. I remember the police called your phone, Mo. You and I were out together knocking on doors. Police called your phone because Jordan remembered your phone number. We go rushing to the scene, and like they pull him up the hill into an ambulance and take him to the hospital and stuff. So we go to that hospital, and like the cop told us, you better hurry here because like we don't even know how long he's gonna last. Like we thought he was gonna die.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Really? I didn't realize all that.
And then, sorry, I'll let Mo tell the story.
Well, I kind of feel like you should tell the story because you're the perpetrator of the story.
You were the one that did it.
No.
Yeah. What?
I'm pretty sure it was you, but I'll take it. Here's the thing, Jordan.
How dare you?
Do you remember? Okay, well, you have to act it out then, Luke.
No.
Do you remember there was this time in the movie when what was the name? The dad, right? You remember the dad, the Junicorn dad?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was giving a police report to cops, and one of them, like, he dropped his pen. Am I remembering this correctly from the movie?
It's been so long since I've seen that.
It wasn't the. It wasn't the.
Oh,
dad.
it was the manager of the car dealership.
He drops his pen and he bends over to pick it up, and one of the police officers is like,
Right, air humping.
He's air humping him from me. I'm sorry.
And he said he was just going for a test drive, see? Excuse me.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
We can't hold it together, and sorry for our our giddiness, but
it's not as funny to anyone watching. Honestly, people watching this are gonna be like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen."
I don't know if Jordan's gonna think it's funny if he doesn't remember that part of the movie. But once we knew you were okay, you were still in your hospital bed in the emergency room, and the doctor came to check on you, and he was leaning over you, and one of us looked at the other.
It was Mo. He did it.
Okay, I'll take it. I air humped the doctor.
I was like, over.
Oh my god!
It's me, and I think Braden was there, wasn't he? And wasn't Braden there, and maybe Austin as well? We're just like trying not to laugh because like our friend is half dead right there. And the doctor's right there, and like if we start laughing, it was the hardest thing to not laugh. Oh my gosh, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
But I have to clarify, lest this sound really, really insensitive. Like at that point, it was confirmed that you had some some lacerations. I don't know if they were minor. I wouldn't have done it if you were truly like dying.
Really on death's door.
I don't even care.
It was
even if I was
so funny.
I would have thought it was funny. So
I
I do remember that I had like this huge man nurse come in. That's like one of the odd memories I have of the hospital.
Do you
like
do you mean
long things up my nose?
Really? Do you mean he was super tall or he was like burly?
Like a big burly guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was just gonna say
beard.
the doctor, I vividly remember the doctor that Mo air humped was really tall. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he was.
He was like
really?
he was probably 6.5 feet at least. Like he was really tall, I remember.
Wow.
And very white and Scandinavian looking.
Yeah, he was like really skinny and tall and white. Yeah.
And intimidating. So we decided to cut that with a little humor.
Nice.
I do seem to remember.
Ever heard anybody?
I do seem to remember a burly male nurse. Wasn't he like making jokes and stuff with you, Jordan?
I don't remember. I just remember like, this is kind of not stereotypical.
What's the matter with that, Jordan? Don't be a bigot.
It's just, like, somebody that didn't look like he would normally be a nurse, maybe like a woodsman or something.
A woodsman. A woodsman. No, that was a crazy summer. Like I think I can only speak for myself, but like I did kind of go crazy being my first time away from home, and like it did feel like, oh, no limits, and like just I would just do crazy stuff just because I could. So that was a wild summer, a lot of fun memories.
Yeah, I agree. It was nonsense in so many ways, but it was great.
Yeah. Good times.
Bumbleclot Borg. Watching.
Do you keep in touch with him anymore?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Yeah, he's one of our clients.
Oh, is he?
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
I talked to him not terribly long ago, like sometime in the last year or two. I think I talked to him for some reason. I can't remember why.
Yeah.
Really? I haven't spoken to him in years.
You ought to call him up.
Yeah, I should.
Call him Bumbleclot if you do.
Bumbleclot.
Yeah.
all of our Jamaican viewers are going to be very offended at the usage of that language.
That's funny. My brother-in-law went to Jamaica on his mission, so he always says that.
Really?
I love it.
Yeah.
The best.
Well, we better save some stories for next time. Overall, Rage was a pretty good book. And next, actually, we should talk about this. So, what are we going to read next? We're going. Speaking of that, I made a mistake. It turns out, I got the publication order like on Wikipedia or something like that, and some of them were incorrect. Apparently, Rage was published before The Shining. We read them out of order.
Well, we were planning on just doing Stephen King before, and then we kind of changed our mind into doing Richard Bachman. Right?
Oh, is that what it was? Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, so I found the official Stephen King website, and it actually tells like the more specific dates. So anyway,
okay.
The next thing that he published is actually a collection of. Excuse me, I just burped. I don't know if you guys could hear it in my mic.
Bless you.
Cream soda.
The next Stephen King book that he published is actually a collection of short stories. I don't know if we want to do those or if we want to skip to the next actual novel. What do you guys prefer?
So does the fact that you're including me in this mean that I'm invited to participate?
You are always invited.
Okay. Well, it kind of takes me out of cameo land, but yeah, I'm becoming a regular.
I think it's up to you. If you can be a regular, if you want to, you're totally invited.
I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to join. So I have no clue what else you have on your docket. Let me know. I will read it.
All right. Okay. What do you think, Jordan?
Do you want to go to the next book?
The next full novel?
Yeah.
All right. I don't even know. I think it might be. Oh, it's The Stand, which is the longest book he's ever published.
Oh, so we'll have a video next year.
It is slightly longer than it. And I've heard from a lot of people that it's like a lot of people consider it one of his very best books.
Yeah. All right.
Which actually, I guess, I don't know if, well, we don't have to get into it right now, but The Stand was published. The original publication, it was heavily edited. Like his editors convinced him to cut a bunch of stuff out. And then years later, he published like the original version, which is like the version he wanted. So I was thinking we should just read that, like the second version, the one that he like the author's choice version. But I don't know if you guys want to do that or. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just let me know specifics so I can buy it. I'd like to do this one in hard copy as opposed to an ebook. So
yeah, sounds good. Let's do it then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we should have a team name. We should have a name for us, like
this great Stephen King Read-a-thon.
Well, that's the series, but like us, like the M Town Boys or something like that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say the M Town Boys are signing off. We'll come up with a better superhero team name.
Well, it's been really good catching up with both of you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
We got it on, man.
We did. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good evening.
You too.
Buddy.
Toodaloo.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Have a good one, guys.